ร่วมสัมมนาทุกท่านนะคะตอนนี้ก็ได้เวลาเข้าในส่วนของการสัมมนาดูผลการดำเนินงานในไตรมาส 3ของบริษัท PSL แล้วนะคะค่ะก็เหมือนทุกไตรมาสในส่วนแรกก็จะในเรื่องของแนวโน้มอุตสาหกรรมแล้วก็ตัวเลขทางการเงินผลการดำเนินงานแล้วช่วงสุดท้ายก็เป็นช่วงถามตอบนะคะโดยกรรมการผู้จัดการคุณคาริทาชิมแล้วก็กรรมการทางด้านการเงินคุณกุชูวาเดียเชิญคุณคาริทนะคะ
Good morning, everybody. Sawadee krab. We're going to do the presentation as usual in two halves. In the first half, we will discuss the industry structure, and in the second half, we will discuss the financials of the company. And after that, of course, we'll have the question and answer session. As you all know, pressure shipping is part of the dry cargo tramp freight market. So therefore, we don't carry any containers or containerized cargoes, and we don't carry any wet cargoes or oil cargoes. As you can see, we are mainly focused in the small handy size sector as defined as between 10 and 30,000 tons, deadweight tons of ships. And we also have 6 ships on order in the super handy max sector, or the supermax sector as it's known, of 54,000 tons each. This is a snapshot view of the company. We currently own 21 ships. The average age is about 14 and a half years of these ships. The market value and the insured value is approximately $300 million. The book value of these same ships is about $220 million. So there's about an $80 million hidden reserve in the balance sheet, which is not taken into account anywhere else. The average size per ship is almost 25,000. Now, I've put down for you at the bottom of the slide valuations that we had taken for the fleet on the 1st of January 2007 for the same 19 ships, because there are 2 ships that we bought recently which were not there with us at that time, so we are not taking those into account. But I just want you to notice how values can change in very short periods of time. So it's gone up from $377 million on the 1st of January 2007 to $641 million, almost double, on the 1st of January 2008. And then on the 1st of January 2009, 1 year later, it had dropped down to $224 million. So you can see that values of ships fluctuate quite aggressively. And this is something that you should keep in mind. This is a chart of the Baltic Dry Index and shows you how this index has fluctuated over time. Prior to the mega bull run that we had starting in 2003, this index fluctuated between a low of 554 points, which was in July 1986, which was an all-time low, and a high at that time of about 2,352 points in April 1995. So you can see that since that time, there has been like a seismic shift, and there has been a huge increase in the dry bulk market. And this index has gone up at the same time that China has increased its appetite and capacity for construction and steel making. So more or less you could say that the BDI has been propelled by one country, and if you're looking at commodities, then it's propelled by steel. This is a slightly better way of looking at the index. It gives you a sort of a cyclical pattern. And you can see that the low point of the cycle started in 2002. Then you had a high point in 2004, followed by 2 smaller years in 2005 and 6, followed by a very big year in 2007, also an equally good year in 2008, and then a drop down in 2009 and 10. We think that this drop down will continue into 2011. And then you will see in 2012, 13, 14, somewhere there, you will see another high. Now, whether that high will be equal to what we've seen in 2007 or 8, or it'll be similar to what we saw in 2004, I'm not too sure. But this is the pattern that we expect that will emerge. Coming to the supply side, I have, as usual, put up for you the total supply side of dry bulk ships as of the beginning of the second quarter of this year. And you can see from that the total deadweight tons is now 495 million deadweight tons of dry bulk ships. If you were to compare that with the figure that was available on the 1st of January 2010, you would see that that figure was 479 million deadweight tons, and therefore you can see that in one quarter the supply side in dry bulk has gone up by almost 3.35%. If you annualize that, then you're talking about an increase in supply of almost 13+%. The highest ever increase in supply took place last year when it was at a 9.2% level. So you can see that the supply side is growing dramatically. And just to give you some historical comparison, prior to 2003, the average increase in supply varied between 1% in low years and 3% in high years. Between 2003 and 2009, this average moved up to about 6%. And in 2009, it went up to 9%. And in 2010, the way it is scheduled right now and the way it looks right now, it will be at least 13%. So the supply side is growing quite dramatically. Coming to specifically our sector, that is the 10 to 30,000 size range, you can see that we've got approximately 15% of new ships that will enter the market over the next 4 years' time. At the same time, if you were to examine the demographics of the existing fleet, you would see that roughly half the fleet has passed their use-by date in economic terms. So we expect that scrapping in our sector should continue to increase, provided the markets were to weaken a little bit. Looking at the forward order book, and if we look at this chart, you can see that the scheduled deliveries for 2010 is 128.74 million deadweight tons, and which, if we compare with the number existing at the beginning of this year of 479 million deadweight tons, you can see that that's a 27% increase. So that's the scheduled. But so far what's happened in the first quarter makes us think that we'll get about half that number coming in. Now if half that number comes in and the balance half flows into 2011, then 2011 will look like 155 million deadweight ton year, and that will be a staggering sum. So that's why we feel that the supply side will continue to put pressure on freight prices and on the freight market for 2010 and definitely for 2011. After that, we see that the supply side pressure is starting to ease and getting better. Now, as I just mentioned, we expect that the scheduled deliveries for 2010 are supposed to be almost 27% of all supply, of existing supply. Yet, the first quarter indicates to us that it will be only about half. So therefore, there's a lot of slippage that is taking place. And here I've got for you an analysis of how this slippage has been taking place. If you look at the year 2009, you can see the slippage, as the red line indicates, in percentage terms, and as the bar charts explain and show you in deadweight ton terms. You can see how that's changing in the different sectors. And you can see that for 2010, what is the new supply that is scheduled to come on stream and which sector has the maximum supply expected for 2010, and which is basically the Capesize sector. If we were to analyze the slippage for the small handy size sector only, you could see that